Maisie is a self-conscious, overthink schoolgirl. While she strolls in the streets, all she can think about is how she needs to kiss someone before she turns 17. She is insecure about herself and constantly compares herself with her classmates and how they already had a first kiss while she can't even get a man to like her. On the other hand, Ben is the opposite of her. He is a narcissistic nerd who thinks that he is better than anyone in his school. He stands above them and has a dream of being a physicist lecturer at a renowned university. Maisie, while strolling, notices Nate. She thinks that it's her chance to get a first kiss and starts stalking her. She doesn't even know how she should approach him. Nate notices Maisie and cuts into a corner. Maisie follows, but as soon as Nate stops walking and turns around, Maisie immediately runs away. While on a run, she collides with Ben. Maisie doesn't have any time to lose, so she quickly apologizes and continues to run away. Maisie meets up with her friend in the woods. She tells her about the incident. Maisie thinks that she still has a chance with Nate. Her delusions are beyond belief, and the lust for her first kiss clouds her mind. Her friend and Maisie make a promise that they will get their first kiss before school ends. Afterward, they proceed to bury Boris, a pet mouse, which died. They dig up a hole and place Boris in it. They say their farewells and leave the place. Maisie is enthusiastic because the holidays ended and she has to go to school, where she will get a kiss. The new semester starts. Teachers warn their students that this year is going to be the most difficult one they have had. Ben's classmate complains that Ethan's handwriting is so bad it is hard to copy homework. Someone suggests that he should try to copy Ben's, but he refuses because, as it turns out, Ben isn't on top of the class anymore. After lessons, Ben and his friend go to a library. They exchange their homework. Ben is confused because he got a lower grade than his friend who copied his homework. He says that he wrote some parts himself and even pointed out where Ben made a mistake. Instead of thanking his friend for advice, Ben gets agitated and continues to write his homework. Suddenly, another group of people appears in the library. They are noisy, and at some point, Ben tries to silence them. Two boys from that group stand up and try to bully Ben and copy his history homework. In response, all Ben does is grab his homework and declare that it only belongs to him and runs away from the room while clutching his handbook. His dreams of being the smartest guy start to crumble away, and the pressure of him admitting that he isn't special and is just an average human being slowly chipped away at his sanity. October starts. For Maisie, this is the month of possibilities. Halloween is near the corner and Maisie starts to plan how she will spend the entire night, and if she will be able to finally get a kiss. She thinks that she and Megan will go into a goth bar, dressed as goths. She thinks that it is a great idea and goes to school to share it with Megan. Maisie and her classmates are splashing water on each other. They are behaving like immature children. They go into the toilet to tidy up. Maisie plans to tell Megan about her plan, but she didn't even know that Megan was already invited to another party, and she wasn't. They try to cheer Maisie up by saying that they will ask Alice if it would be fine for her to come to the party as well. Maisie refuses because she doesn't want to beg for something, but in reality she lies that she has some other plans, which are going out with his little sister and her friend to get candy. The night starts and Maisie is angry because Megan hasn't answered any of her texts for 4 hours. She worries that Megan might be kissing someone and feels left alone even though they said they were together. Her little sister teases her that everything is fine because lots of her friends didn't have their first kiss. Insecure Maisie bites on this childish prank, gets angry, and goes home. While everyone has a wonderful Halloween night, Ben sits in his room preparing a project about magnetism. He is completely absorbed in this project, which he has been making for an entire week. At one point he gets angry at his brother and starts to belittle him, saying that he has everything figured out because he is nothing, and does nothing, just because he was playing a guitar. Ben is confident that he will get enough for this project, but it's interesting what will happen to his ego if he still fails at it. The next day, Maisie plays with dolls with her sister when Megan calls her and apologizes that she didn't answer any of her calls or texts yesterday. She tells Maisie that she finally was able to get her first kiss from a boy. This news destroys Maisie because she now is alone in this endeavor. Megan tells her that she will say the entire story when she sees her in school. Lunch break has started and she joins her friends. Megan tells the entire story from the start. Maisie gets jealous and tries to tell them how she spent her weekend, but she gets cut over in the middle of her story. They continue talking about the part and Maisie finally explodes and suggests that they should talk about something different. Megan apologizes to her. She suggests that it's for the better that Maisie didn't come to the party because it wasn't for her. Everyone was drinking and kissing. Maisie starts to think that everyone thinks she is uncool and for no reason. Her name is associated with lameness. To prove them wrong, Maisie stands up, goes to Alice's table, and sits down. She tries to join in the conversation but makes everyone else uncomfortable around her. Alice takes advantage of Maisie's desperation and says that she can meet up with them at 4 o'clock after school if she tidies up their table for them, and she agrees. Ben and his friend go to the teacher's room to find out what grade they got. She hands out the papers to them and compliments James because he did good work, and asks Ben to meet her after classes. Ben excuses himself and goes into the toilet, where he sees that he got a C for the project he spent the entire week doing. He completely loses himself and throws a childish tantrum, tearing up his entire project as he screams and finally flushes it down. When he meets up with his friends, he is a new man. He gives up on being the top student because everyone else sees him as a total geek and he is not fine with that. He wants to go to parties and meet new people, because if he isn't getting good grades, what else is he supposed to do? His entire life was turned upside down just because he was falling short on his grades, and his narcissistic god complex was finally torn to pieces. Luke suggests that they should go to Rob Cogan's party. Ben is worried that they can't go there because they aren't invited, but Luke convinces him that the invitation doesn't matter. James says that he will find out where Rob's house is. James comes up with the bright idea and hands down the responsibility to Ben, Luke, and Ethan. He says they need to gather information, so he chose who would do what perfectly. Ethan has to talk to James, Ben needs to talk to Thomas, and he and Luke will eavesdrop. Everyone likes his plan, so they start going at it. While Ben tries to find a way to get into Rob's party, Alice and her group plan to go there. Maisie sits with them and awkwardly looks at her friends who pass by as class ends. She feels guilty because she abandoned them, but she still wants to get a kiss. Desperate times call for desperate means. Maisie asks them if she can go with them, and Kate reluctantly says that she can go. Their party plans to split up because Kate has to go somewhere else, so they say goodbyes to each other and kiss on the cheeks. They mock Maisie about it, that her kiss is an unpolished and untrained one, but Maisie doesn't seem to care or rather notice it at all. Even when Alice lies to her just to leave her alone, all she can think about is how Kate called her cute, which means that they must like her. Ethan and Ben coincidentally bump into Thomas, who converses with his friends. Soon enough, Thomas's friends leave, and Ethan forces Ben to talk to him to find out where the party is being held. The whole situation becomes comically awkward when Ben doesn't have any choice but to approach him. He tries to talk to him and find out the location of the house, but he gets uncomfortable and Thomas thinks that he is a weird guy and leaves the place without even telling him a thing. On the other hand, James and Luke were able to get the information. James lies about it, telling that he is so good at eavesdropping that he managed to get information. But Luke stops him and tells the truth. He bribed one of the girls to tell him where the party would be held. The day finally came. Maisie, with her newly acquired friend, is on her way to the party in her dad's car. Her dad embarrasses Maisie in front of her friends, and she gets angry and tells him to shut his mouth. They finally arrive and go into the home. But before they close the door, Ben and his group sneak into the party. Everyone drinks alcohol and dances to the music. They are having a good time, but not Maisie. She stands in a corner alone until Alice and her friends drag her onto the dance floor and force her to dance. In the next room, Ben is talking to a young female. She talks about how corrupt the government is and the fact that they lie about many things. Ben agrees with her, and she proposes that they meet each other outside. James suddenly sits in between them and smiles for no reason at the girl. She decides to leave the place, leaving drunk James and disappointed Ben alone. Maisie stopped dancing and now plays a never have I ever game. Quickly, the situation turns not in Maisie's favor. Alice and Kate start teasing her about intimacy. They say that they know she hasn't slept with anyone. They even wonder if she has ever kissed someone. That's when Kate comes up with a devious plan to say that she has never been kissed, and that's when Maisie lies and drinks the alcohol, which means that she has kissed a guy. The next thing the group decided to say is if they have seen a naked guy, and once again Maisie lies that she has. Her insecurities won over her common sense, and it doesn't take Kate and Alice long enough to catch her in her lies. Kate doesn't even feel sorry for her, while Maisie excuses herself to go to the toilet. Ben also has a hard time finding the right place to fit in. That's when he walks out of the room and stands beside Maisie. Ben admits that he doesn't know what to do or where to be, so he stands in the toilet queue. Maisie admits that she knows how that feels. It feels like the two of them started to bond a little, and it would have continued if not for Luke. He quickly grabs Ben and goes away from the party. All Ben manages to do is bid farewell. They grab Ethan along the way, who is kissing some random girl, and go outside. That's when Ben has the wildest idea to start a band, and everyone likes it. December comes, Ben's father returns home and everyone greets him, while Maisie decides that she won't play with the dolls with her sister anymore, which makes her pretty sad. Ben and his friends practice their music in a garage. When his dad comes and suggests that he needs to prepare for the physics test, Ben says that it's fine because he isn't dumb and doesn't need to study to pass the test. He convinces his dad and continues the practice. The history teacher hands out essays. He advises Ben that while his essay made good points, he should focus more on the structure, and suggests that he should look at Thomas's essay for example. On Maisie's end, things are looking bad. She is at the cafeteria and wants to sit with her new friend group. But every chair is taken, so she sees the one that is available in front of her and asks if she can take it. Her old friend Megan stops her from taking it, giving her a cold response. The teacher gives a lecture. Everyone sits and listens to him, but Ben is furious. He is angry that he is officially stupid, and the fact that his teacher dared to tell him to learn from Thomas, whom he thought all his life was beneath him, is preposterous for Ben. He calls everyone else sheep, but in the end, they are smarter than him, so they know what they are doing in their life. Ben gets the urgency to do something that will change his life. He feels enormous anger, shame, and disappointment, and in a desperate attempt to change something, he yells out in the hall, Ben gets expelled from the class. He spends his entire day strolling in the streets listening to music, while completely unbothered about what he did. Maisie is at Alice's place for a sleepover. Kate tells Maisie that she will have to sleep on the floor because there is not enough room on the bed. Maisie agrees but has some doubts about it. She tries to listen to what they are talking about, but Kate stops her again. She says that it's something private that Alice doesn't want to talk about with anyone. Maisie gets surprised and she doesn't understand why they are treating her as their friend like this. Maisie says that she will go, and they without hesitation agree to her proposal. This completely breaks naive Maisie down, and she rushes outside in her pajamas crying. She waits for the bus. When the bus finally arrives, she takes it, and to her surprise she sees Ben sitting there. Both of them recognize each other immediately. Maisie wonders what she must do and sits beside him. They both feel uncomfortable. Maisie thinks that she ruined everything because she sat beside him, and Ben at the same time thinks that if he doesn't say anything the whole situation will turn out to be a disaster. Maisie has a brilliant idea that if her earphones fall out she will have an excuse to start a conversation. But that also fails, and that's when Ben makes the first step. He asks if he knows her from that party. Maisie at first lies that she can't remember which party he is talking about because she goes to many, but then confesses that probably he isn't mistaken because she has been to only one party, and that's where they met. Both of them agree that the party was bad and they didn't have a good time. Ben sees that Maisie is listening to music, so he asks if he can have one earphone. Maisie agrees. He discovers that they share the same taste, and Maisie listens to a lot of music he does. Ben says that this looks like his soundtrack to 15. Maisie asks what it means, and he explains that basically it's a combination of all the music he listened to throughout the year which he puts on the CD. And then it becomes the soundtrack of that year. Maisie gets captivated by such a silly yet interesting idea, and Ben's passion while he talked about it left a mark on Maisie. Ben tries to impress her and tells her about the band. Shortly they discuss their grades. Ben says that he is failing at physics, but for Maisie it's history. She says that she wants to ask Megan for help but she can't because she feels off from her, and her old friends and even her sister. Ben is lost in his thoughts and doesn't hear a word she just said, so he asks her for a reason. She tells him how everything went down and the fact that she hasn't kissed anybody affects her lifestyle. She gets angry and mumbles about it for quite some time, until Ben stops her. He tries to calm her down by saying that it doesn't matter because he is in the same spot and so are his friends. He suggests that she is overthinking everything. They are so lost in conversation that they discover that the bus was going in the wrong direction. They get off and wait for another one. Ben notices that she wears pajamas and says that she must be really cold. That's when Maisie gathers the courage and says they can huddle if he wants. Ben agrees and they warm each other up before the bus arrives. While on the way home, Ben realizes that they might not see each other ever again, so they exchange phone numbers. They excuse themselves with the notion that they are doing it because they want to help each other study. In reality, they liked each other and want to meet up and have a nice time, maybe even become potential boyfriend and girlfriend. March starts. Ben and Maisie seem to have been exchanging texts and meeting up occasionally. They stroll over some places and then sit in the park. Maisie constantly worries about her history class and wants to revise some dates that she has written in her notes. But when she takes it out of the bag, Ben steals it, and Maisie tries to catch him. They play like children, and that's when James, Luke, and Ethan coincidentally meet them. They suggest playing football and Maisie and Ben agree. Maisie has a really good time with Ben, but her school life is failing. She wants to make up with Megan and tries to apologize in the toilet, but Megan refuses because she thinks Maisie couldn't just not talk for months with her and now act like nothing happened. So continues her life, having a great time with Ben but failing to make any amends for her past mistakes. April has started and nothing changed, but it seems that Ben has developed feelings for Maisie. They are in the library and Maisie teaches him physics when suddenly her entire attention is directed to Nathan, who enters the room. Ben tries to talk to her but she doesn't pay attention. That's when he notices Nathan and gets jealous and asks Maisie who he is. She says that his name is Nathan. Maisie follows up with a quick explanation of the problem Ben was stuck on and gives him a book that has good examples in it, and she starts revising the history when in reality it was just an excuse to look at Nathan. Ben gets petty and calls Nathan a twat because he doesn't understand what she sees in him. Then he tries to ask her a question even though it is written in the books, because he wanted the attention for himself, and thinking that this plan would work out backfired on him. She stands up and takes the book and goes to Nathan to ask him the same question. She compliments Nathan when he solves the problem, and this makes Ben bitter. After studies, he goes away, and while on the way to his home, his thoughts are filled with nonsense. But mainly he disses Nathan and wishes that if comet hit the earth, and they would survive, it would be for the better if Nathan would die. May starts and once again Maisie tries to sit beside Nathan in the library. He gets extremely angry because she doesn't give up on him. Maisie asks him to move his bag for her to sit beside him. He exhales and rudely moves his things away. This is enough for Maisie to finally understand that Nathan is a douchebag. She sits outside and decides that Ben is a fine boy who understands and makes her laugh. On the other hand, Ben and his friends are at the library getting ready for exams. Ben is still confused about how Luke, who doesn't pay any attention to his studies, does a better job at physics than him. Ben gets a text on his phone. Luke quickly snatches it away and reads Maisie's text, which says that she saw Nathan in the library. Luke asks who this Nathan guy is. Ben answers that it's some guy whom Maisie likes. Luke gives him advice to be a bit harder to get if he doesn't want to be her friend all the time. That's when he texts her back and says that she should try to ask him out, which hurts Maisie and she doesn't respond to Ben. It's 10 days before the exams. Ben and Maisie are preparing for it. Ben is slacking off and doesn't do the homework while Maisie is concentrating on it. He asks some questions and she explains it easily, and that's when Ben stops worrying about exams that much. He starts making a noise with a marker, and that distracts Maisie, and she says that she thought he would be more focused on exams than he is. This hurts Ben's pride because he thinks that in her eyes he has been nothing more than just some stupid guy. Maisie tries to reason with him, saying that she doesn't think that he is stupid, it's just he has always unrealistic expectations. That's when Ben finally snaps at her. He says that it's her who has unrealistic expectations. She stalks Nathan around even though he doesn't care about her in any way. A popular guy like him wouldn't even want to be friends with her, let alone date her. Maisie says that she thought Ben was her friend, and he replies that he isn't. Maisie starts to tear up and runs away. She sits on the stairway when she meets with her old friend who sees her crying face. They ask if everything is okay and she just lies that it's totally fine and everything is going well. While Ben is left alone to deal with exams and he loses his composure when he sees that he can't solve any problem on his own. 3 days are left before the exams and Maisie is dissatisfied with her results on the mock text she wrote. She got B and she won't accept anything that isn't an A. She melts down and hits her toys. On the other hand, Ben is in a worse situation. 12 hours are left and he still doesn't understand anything. Hours pass by and any idea he has of how he should study to make him understand doesn't work out. He is completely freaked out, and as a desperate attempt for him not to be seen as a complete idiot, he decides not to go to the exams. 1 hour is left and Maisie is worried about him. She wishes him good luck via text, but he writes to her that he won't be going there. Maisie urges him to go because he worked so hard for this, but he doesn't seem to care about it at all. But the sudden realization that his parents would be angry that he didn't go to exams and the fact that he might get a passing grade comes to him, and he rushes outside where he meets Maisie, who got there on a bicycle to help him get there on time. 1 minute before the exam, Ben manages to get there on time. He answers all the questions, and when he goes out he is rather satisfied with the results. For Maisie, it went smoothly. She wrote it without a problem. She apologizes to her sister for being rude and gifts her new toys, and they play together. The long-awaited day came for her. The history exam starts, and when she sees the first question, she freezes up. She thinks she's completely failed the exam and goes into the toilet to discover Megan, who also has a meltdown because she did terribly in the exam. Surprisingly, they hug each other and make up, and Maisie even goes with her old friends. They are leaving the school when Ben and his friends say hello to them, and suddenly, they all go to Ben's place to celebrate the fact that they are done with their exams. On the way, Ben apologizes for his harsh words. She does the same, but she still worries about her grades. That's when Ben tells her that grades shouldn't define who she is or what she wants to do in life, and she agrees with him. They have a great time and play various games. Finally, Ben and Maisie are left alone. They go on the balcony, and Ben gives her a CD named Road to 16, and reluctantly says that he's giving it to her just as a friend. They look at each other for some time. Finally, the feelings they've had for a long time break the dam, and they kiss.